Ek Omkar. Let's take this different trip today. Think about this. Two distinct voices in your mind. One says this and one says that. Very normal. One stems from your sense of ego, saying, I want this, I feel this is correct, I feel this is not the right way. Now, this voice is so much of the I in me that often it doesn't let the me hear the other voice at all. And there is that other voice. But why can't you hear that voice? Because that is the innermost voice. To understand this better, let's take these voices as layers. The external layer is the me layer, and the internal one is the true self one. But for you to be able to hear this inner self, the ego voice will have to be silenced. And it is extremely important to do this, else this ego doesn't let us have a clear vision at most points in our life. Now comes the tricky part. You may be able to acknowledge and understand that this ego voice is the one that hasn't led you far in your life, or that it has deprived you from creating and carving your desired path of success, or has not let you reach that acme that you could have achieved. You may define this in your own terms, but this acceptance that it is that ego voice that has stopped you is the right beginning. But the real question here is how to tackle this voice. And now begins the role of adorning different hats or wearing various masks. Become a dictator sometimes who commands, a surgeon at times who separates the two, or a judge who hears the witnesses from both the sides and then makes a decision. To each one of you, your own method, but broadly speaking, you shall have to get detached from this inessential voice, for this voice will definitely try to justify and intellectualize itself more than the inner voice. And it's obvious because this voice is the illusory, the sensory voice, and we are all about our senses. So we automatically tend to accept this voice more if we are not walking a path of self-awareness. Believe me, if you would, that it's a beautiful feeling when you get liberated from this ego self, because you step out of all kinds of duality. You start having a more divine and balanced perspective in life. You begin making more human decisions in every situation. You start directing and channelizing your mind towards greater consciousness levels day after day after day. In spiritual language, in fact, there is a term for this, the Sakshi Bhav. स्वयं के साक्षी बनिए और खुद से पृथक होकर, माने खुद से अलग होकर खुद के दिमाग को पढ़िए. Start observing your mind from a distance, and slowly you will start observing that you are negating the inessential and choosing what's best. In the language of Shastras, we call it the Shreyas and the Preyas principles. You start choosing the Shreyas or the Shreshth, which means the best, over what's dear to just you, which is what we call Preyas. Once you start implementing this, the false or the lower voice within you will slowly start fading, and you will start traveling the path upward and inward. But yes, the journey is going to be difficult because the ego never dies so quickly. One small thing and you will get angry. You will start judging. You will begin holding grudges despite trying to start walking this path. Because the ego mind is so empowered by each one of us since childhood that we are forever lost in self-pursuit or self-obsessed thoughts. So we only think about ourselves. Now, there's a difference here. It's good to care about the self as well. It's good to love yourself, for you have to be happy. Only then you will be able to spread joy and happiness around you. So self-care is a must. But understand the difference here. Self-care and being selfish are two different states. Aham is one thing and ahankar is entirely different. Individuality and ego are two separate realities. Although, as you go deeper into spiritualism, you start working upon that aham, the sense of individuality as well. But for today, let's stick to the task that we want to assign ourselves for the day, which is about checking our ego mind that says me in situations where it's not about self-care but about acquiring something, about proving yourself, about judging the other, about considering yourself the best, the sarve sarva, the one who knows it all. I know it all. That's wrong. These are the tricks of the ego mind that need to be controlled, else all your lives you end up being controlled by it rather than controlling it yourself. The beginning can be difficult and you may go through utter confusion. But I shall suggest two wonderful methods today. First one, when someone criticizes you next time, check if the ego's default defensiveness makes you respond in a reactive manner, or if someone says something unsuitable or mean, do you get angry next time? This is one way. But the second way I'm going to talk about is a beautiful way. Silence your mind and try to decipher between the true voice and the false voice. Try and choose the best for all in place of what's dear to just you. Shreyas over prayas. Let yourself steer away from the me, myself dynamics and direct your concentration towards the higher discriminatory mind that involves buddhi, vivek, meaning wisdom, patience. And when you will start doing this, sooner or later, you will start seeing even intelligence as part of lower nature. And here I would leave you with a question. If intelligence is part of our lower nature, what is it that is part of the higher nature within us? We've already discussed that. Don't forget to leave your answer in the comments section. But finally, let's conclude now. Let's start working on our ego. That is just a persona. And let's seek to find our answers from that true voice within that has the potential to open newer dimensions of joy and success in our lives. Namaskar.